Right then, hello everyone, and welcome to the Artificial Fluency Podcast. I'm Emily, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you join me today for this special hour-long episode all about life in modern Britain. Whether you're planning to visit the UK, thinking about studying here, or simply curious about British culture and society, today's program is designed to give you a proper insight into what life is actually like in Britain today. Now, when most people think about Britain, they often picture red double-decker buses, the Queen's Guard with their tall black hats, fish and chips, and perhaps a bit of rain. And whilst these iconic images are indeed part of British culture, there's so much more to modern Britain than these traditional stereotypes. Today, we're going to explore the reality of contemporary British life, from our daily routines and social customs to our changing demographics and evolving traditions. I'll be taking you through various aspects of British society, including our education system, work culture, social life, food scene, transport networks, and regional differences. We'll also discuss some of the challenges and changes Britain has faced in recent years and how these have shaped the country we live in today. Throughout today's episode, I'll be using authentic British expressions and vocabulary, so you'll get plenty of exposure to the way we actually speak here in the UK. Don't worry if you don't catch everything the first time round. That's perfectly normal and part of the learning process. Right, let's crack on, shall we? Let's begin with something that affects every single person living in Britain, our famously unpredictable weather. Now, I know it's a bit of a cliché to talk about British weather, but honestly, it really does play a significant role in our daily lives and national character. The thing about British weather is that it's remarkably changeable. You can wake up to bright sunshine, pop out for lunch in a downpour, and find yourself enjoying a lovely evening without a cloud in the sky. This unpredictability has shaped our approach to dressing. We've mastered the art of layering clothes, and you'll rarely see a Brit venture out without at least checking the weather forecast. The concept of 4 seasons in one day is very real here. I remember last Tuesday, I started the morning in a t-shirt because it was quite warm, had to duck into a shop during a sudden hailstorm at lunchtime, and ended up needing a proper coat by evening. It keeps life interesting, I suppose. Our relationship with weather is fascinating from a cultural perspective. We use it as a universal conversation starter. Commenting on the weather is a safe, non-controversial way to chat with anyone, from your neighbour to the person standing next to you in a queue. Phrases like, "lovely day, isn't it?" or "bit nippy today" are heard countless times every day across the country. We've also developed quite a sophisticated vocabulary for describing rain. We don't just say it's raining, we have drizzle, showers, downpours, spitting, bucketing down, and it's absolutely chucking it down. Each term describes a different intensity or type of rainfall, which shows just how much experience we have with wet weather. The weather also influences our social plans in interesting ways. Pub gardens are packed the moment there's a hint of sunshine, even if it's only 15 degrees. We call this phenomenon furniture weather. As soon as the sun comes out, outdoor furniture appears in gardens and parks across the nation. There's something wonderfully optimistic about the British response to good weather, perhaps because we know it might not last long. Our relationship with weather is fascinating from a cultural perspective. We use it as a universal conversation starter. Commenting on the weather is a safe, non-controversial way to chat with anyone, from your neighbour to the person standing next to you in a queue. Phrases like, "lovely day, isn't it?" or "bit nippy today" are heard countless times every day across the country. We've also developed quite a sophisticated vocabulary for describing rain. We don't just say it's raining, we have drizzle, showers, downpours, spitting, bucketing down, and it's absolutely chucking it down. Each term describes a different intensity or type of rainfall, which shows just how much experience we have with wet weather. The weather also influences our social plans in interesting ways. Pub gardens are packed the moment there's a hint of sunshine, even if it's only 15 degrees. We call this phenomenon furniture weather. As soon as the sun comes out, outdoor furniture appears in gardens and parks across the nation. There's something wonderfully optimistic about the British response to good weather, perhaps because we know it might not last long. Now, let's talk about British social customs and etiquette, which can be quite puzzling for visitors, but are absolutely fascinating when you understand the underlying principles. British politeness is legendary, but it's more complex than simply saying please and thank you, though we do say those an awful lot. The art of queuing is perhaps our most famous social custom. We form orderly queues for everything: buses, shops, coffee, you name it. But it's not just about standing in line, there's a whole etiquette around queuing. You must never push in, you should leave appropriate space between yourself and the person in front, and if you accidentally jump a queue, a profuse apology is absolutely essential. I witnessed a perfect example of British queuing etiquette just yesterday at the post office. A tourist accidentally joined the queue in the wrong place, and instead of anyone getting cross, the person behind gently said, "Excuse me, I think the queue actually starts back there." The tourist was mortified and apologized repeatedly, whilst everyone assured him it was no trouble at all. That's very British. We help each other follow the rules whilst minimizing embarrassment. Our use of language for politeness is quite sophisticated. We often use indirect language to make requests or express disagreement. Instead of saying, "I disagree," we might say, "I see your point, but," or "That's an interesting perspective, however." We also use understatement frequently, describing something as "not bad" when we actually think it's excellent, or saying we're a bit concerned when we're actually quite worried. The phrase "I'm sorry" is used far more broadly than just for apologies. We say sorry when someone bumps into us, when we need to get past someone, when we're asking for directions, or even when we haven't heard what someone said. It's become a social lubricant that helps interactions run smoothly. Emily, British humour deserves special mention because it's such a defining characteristic of our culture. We tend to be quite self-deprecating, making fun of ourselves before others can do it for us. Sarcasm and irony are common, and we often say the opposite of what we mean for humorous effect. Dry humour is particularly British. We might make jokes with a completely straight face, and the humour comes from the understatement or the unexpectedness of the comment. For example, if it's pouring with rain, someone might say with perfect seriousness, "Lovely weather for ducks." This type of humour can be confusing for people learning English because the tone doesn't always match the content. We also have a tradition of gentle teasing among friends and colleagues. This is called taking the mickey or having a laugh, and it's actually a sign of affection and acceptance. If your British friends start teasing you gently, it means they like you. However, this can be tricky for non-native speakers to navigate, so don't worry if you find it confusing at first. Let's move on to discuss the British education system, which has some unique features that might surprise you. Education is compulsory from age 5 to 18, and the system varies slightly between England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, though I'll focus mainly on the English system today. Primary school runs from ages 5 to 11, and it's where children learn the basics: reading, writing, math, and various other subjects. What's interesting is that British primary schools place quite a strong emphasis on creativity and play-based learning, especially in the early years. Children often sit on carpets for story time, and lessons frequently involve hands-on activities and group work. Secondary school, from ages 11 to 16, culminates in GCSE exams, General Certificate of Secondary Education. Students typically take between 8 and 12 GCSE subjects, including core subjects like English, math, and science, plus optional subjects they choose based on their interests and career aspirations. After GCSEs, students have several options. They can continue with A-levels, advanced levels, for 2 more years if they're planning to go to university. A-levels are quite specialized. Students typically choose just 3 or 4 subjects to study in depth. Alternatively, they might choose vocational courses, apprenticeships, or enter the workforce. The house system in many British schools is quite distinctive. Students are divided into houses, often named after famous people, local landmarks, or simply colours, and these houses compete throughout the year in sports, academic competitions, and other activities. It's designed to create a sense of belonging and healthy competition. School uniform is still very common in British schools, from primary right through to sixth form. This might seem old-fashioned, but it's actually quite practical. It reduces inequality between students from different economic backgrounds and eliminates the daily decision about what to wear. Emily, university culture in Britain is quite unique and worth exploring. We have some of the world's oldest and most prestigious universities, like Oxford and Cambridge, collectively known as Oxbridge, but we also have many excellent modern universities across the country. The application process is centralized through UCAS, Universities and Colleges Admission Service, where students apply to up to 5 universities with one application. This system is quite different from many other countries and helps ensure fairness in the application process. British university courses are typically more specialized than in some other countries. Students often apply to study a specific subject from day one, rather than doing general studies first. A typical undergraduate degree lasts 3 years in England and Wales, or 4 years in Scotland. University life includes some wonderful traditions. Freshers' Week, Orientation Week, is legendary for helping new students settle in and make friends. Students typically live in halls of residence, dormitories in their first year, then often move into shared houses with friends for subsequent years. The student experience varies enormously depending on the university and location. Studying in London offers incredible opportunities but is expensive, whilst university towns like Bath, Durham or St Andrews offer a more traditional collegiate atmosphere where the university is the heart of the community. Now, let's explore British work culture, which has evolved significantly over the past few decades. The traditional 9-to-5 working day is still common, but there's been a notable shift towards more flexible working arrangements, especially accelerated by the pandemic. Many British companies now offer flexible working options, including working from home several days a week, flexible start and finish times, or compressed working weeks. The concept of work-life balance has become increasingly important, and employers recognize that happy, well-rested employees are more productive. The British workplace tends to be relatively informal in terms of interpersonal relationships. Colleagues often become friends, and it's common to socialize outside work. After-work drinks on Friday, known as Friday drinks or going for a quick punt, are a cherished tradition in many offices, though participation is always optional. Holiday entitlement in the UK is quite generous compared to some countries. The legal minimum is 28 days per year, including bank holidays, but many employers offer more. Brits typically take longer holidays rather than lots of short breaks, and August is a particularly popular time for family holidays. The concept of sick days is handled differently here than in some countries. Employees don't typically have a set number of sick days they're allowed to take. Instead, there's an expectation that people will only take time off when genuinely ill, and most employers are quite understanding about occasional illness. Meeting culture can be quite distinctive. British meetings often involve considerable small talk before getting down to business, discussing the weather, weekend plans, or current events. This isn't wasting time, it's relationship building and helps create a comfortable atmosphere for the actual meeting. British food culture has undergone a remarkable transformation over the past few decades. While we still love our traditional dishes like fish and chips, Sunday roast, and a proper English breakfast, our culinary landscape has become wonderfully diverse and sophisticated. The traditional Sunday roast remains a cornerstone of British food culture. Families often gather for roast beef, lamb, or chicken with Yorkshire pudding, roast potatoes, vegetables, and gravy. It's not just about the food, it's about taking time together, often stretching the meal out over several hours with conversation and perhaps a walk afterwards. However, British cuisine now reflects our multicultural society. Indian curry is so popular it's often called Britain's national dish. You'll find excellent Indian, Chinese, Thai, Turkish and Middle Eastern restaurants in every British town. This isn't just about restaurants either. Many of these international ingredients and cooking methods have been adopted into everyday British home cooking. The pub remains central to British social life, though the role of pubs has evolved. Modern pubs often serve excellent food, called gastropubs, alongside traditional drinks. The concept of pub grub has elevated from basic sandwiches to sophisticated meals while maintaining the relaxed, welcoming atmosphere that makes pubs special. British drinking culture is worth understanding. We often go to the pub not primarily to drink alcohol, but to socialize. Many pubs are family-friendly during the day, and it's perfectly acceptable to go to a pub just for a soft drink or coffee. The round system, where one person buys drinks for the whole group, then someone else buys the next round, is an important social custom that helps build relationships and ensures fairness. Tea culture remains strong, though coffee has gained considerable ground. The ritual of putting the kettle on during times of crisis, celebration, or simply when someone visits is still very much alive. Tea with biscuits, cookies, remains a comforting constant in British life. Let's discuss British transport, which is a constant source of both pride and frustration for us Brits. Our transport network is extensive and generally reliable, though it can be expensive and occasionally frustrating. London's transport system is world-renowned. The Underground, or Tube, is efficient, covers most of London, and has become iconic with its distinctive map design and mind the gap announcements. London buses are frequent and cover areas the Tube doesn't reach. Most Londoners rely heavily on public transport, and many don't own cars. However, transport in London is quite expensive. A daily travel pass can cost more than £15, which adds up quickly. This is why many Londoners have monthly or annual travel cards, and why tourists often find transport costs surprisingly high. Outside London, the picture is more mixed. Many cities have excellent public transport: Manchester's tram system, Edinburgh's buses, Birmingham's rail connections, but rural areas often have limited public transport, making car ownership more necessary. British trains connect most major cities efficiently, and train travel can be pleasant and convenient. However, our trains are notoriously expensive, especially for last-minute bookings. A return ticket from London to Edinburgh might cost £200 if bought on the day, but could be as little as £25 if booked well in advance. This pricing system baffles many visitors. The British driving experience has its own characteristics. We drive on the left, which initially confuses visitors, but most adapt quickly. Our roads are generally well maintained, though often narrow and winding, especially in rural areas. Roundabouts are everywhere. We love them because they keep traffic flowing, though they can be intimidating for unfamiliar drivers. Parking in British cities is notoriously difficult and expensive. Many people avoid driving into city centres, preferring to use park and ride facilities or public transport instead. Emily. British housing and how we live is quite distinctive and worth exploring. The majority of Brits dream of owning their own home, and home ownership rates are relatively high compared to some European countries, though this has become increasingly challenging for young people due to rising house prices. The types of housing available reflect our history and geography. Terraced houses, rows of houses joined together, are common in cities and towns. These often date from the Victorian era and can be quite charming, with bay windows, small front gardens, and original features like fireplaces and high ceilings. Semi-detached houses, joined to one neighbour, are very popular, offering more space than terraced houses, whilst being more affordable than detached houses. Detached houses are considered the pinnacle of home ownership, but are increasingly expensive, especially in the south of England. Flats, apartments, are common in cities and are often converted from larger Victorian houses. Purpose-built apartment blocks are also common, though British people generally prefer houses to flats when given the choice. British homes tend to be smaller than those in countries like America or Australia, which influences how we live. Gardens are particularly important to us. Even a small back garden is highly valued. We are passionate gardeners, and garden centres are hugely popular weekend destinations. The rental market has grown significantly, especially in expensive areas like London and the South East. Many young professionals rent for years before being able to buy, and the quality and security of rental properties has improved considerably over recent years. Let's explore regional differences across Britain, because despite being a relatively small country, we have remarkable diversity in accents, customs, and local pride. Understanding these regional variations is crucial for appreciating modern British life. The North-South divide is real and culturally significant. Generally speaking, the North is perceived as more friendly, down-to-earth, and community-oriented, while the South is seen as more prosperous but perhaps less approachable. Of course, these are generalizations, but they reflect genuine cultural differences that have historical roots. Northern cities like Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Leeds have undergone remarkable regeneration over recent decades. They offer vibrant cultural scenes, excellent universities, and increasingly sophisticated food and entertainment options, often at a fraction of London prices. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland each have distinct identities. Scotland in particular has its own legal system, education system, and increasingly distinct political direction. Welsh culture and language is experiencing a revival, and you'll hear Welsh spoken regularly in many parts of Wales. Accents vary dramatically across relatively short distances. A Geordie accent from Newcastle sounds completely different from a Yorkshire accent just a few hours south. Scouse from Liverpool, Brummie from Birmingham, and West Coast accents are all distinctly recognisable to British ears. These regional differences extend beyond accents to local customs, food preference. British social life and leisure activities reflect our climate, culture, and history in interesting ways. Weekend activities often depend on the weather, but we've become quite adaptable in our pursuit of enjoyment. The British love affair with gardening is remarkable. Garden centres are packed every weekend, and gardening programmes are hugely popular on television. Even people with tiny urban gardens or just window boxes take pride in growing something. Allotments, small plots of land rented for growing vegetables, have long waiting lists in many areas. Walking is our most popular form of exercise and leisure activity. We have extensive public footpath networks, and going for a walk is a common weekend activity. Coastal path walking is particularly popular, and many Brits plan holidays around walking opportunities. British people are increasingly interested in fitness and wellness. Gym membership has grown significantly, and activities like yoga, cycling, and running clubs are very popular. The park run phenomenon, free, timed 5-kilometer runs held every Saturday morning in parks across the country, demonstrates our community-oriented approach to fitness. Social media has changed how younger Brits socialize, but traditional activities remain important. Meeting friends at the pub, having people round for dinner, and going to the cinema or theatre are still central to British social life. We're quite enthusiastic about festivals and events. Music festivals like Glastonbury have become cultural phenomenon, and every town seems to have its own annual festival, celebrating everything from food and drink to arts and crafts. Emily? Shopping culture in Britain has evolved dramatically with the rise of online shopping, but our high streets, main shopping areas, remain important social spaces. The British High Street traditionally featured a similar mix of shops in every town: a post office, pharmacy, grocery shops, clothing stores, and pubs. However, online shopping and large out-of-town shopping centres have challenged traditional high streets. Many towns are working to reinvent their centres, focusing on experiences, independent shops, cafes, and services that can't be replicated online. British people have embraced online shopping enthusiastically. Next-day delivery is common, and many people do their weekly grocery shopping online. This has been particularly accelerated by the pandemic, with many older people discovering online shopping for the first time. The British approach to sales and shopping has some distinctive features. We love a bargain, and January sales are still major events. Charity shops, thrift stores are hugely popular and socially acceptable across all social classes. Finding a bargain in a charity shop is a source of pride rather than embarrassment. Sunday shopping laws were relaxed in the 1990s, but many shops still have restricted Sunday hours, and it remains a quieter shopping day with a different, more relaxed atmosphere. Emily? British sports culture is passionate and tribal in ways that can surprise visitors. Football, soccer, dominates the sporting landscape, with the Premier League being followed globally, but our relationship with sports is complex and deeply emotional. Football clubs inspire incredible loyalty, often passed down through generations. Supporting your local team is about much more than the quality of football. It's about community identity, shared experiences, and belonging. This loyalty persists through relegation, poor performance, and decades of disappointment. Cricket holds a special place in British culture, representing a more gentle, traditional side of British character. Test matches at grounds like Lord's or the Oval are social occasions as much as sporting events, with spectators bringing picnics and making a day of it. Rugby divides along geographic lines. Rugby union is popular in certain regions and among certain social groups, while rugby league has strong regional followings in the north of England. Tennis becomes a national obsession for 2 weeks every summer during Wimbledon. Suddenly, everyone becomes a tennis expert, and watching Wimbledon while eating strawberries and cream becomes a cherished tradition. The Olympics and other major international competitions unite the country in ways that domestic sports sometimes don't. British success in cycling, rowing, and athletics has grown significantly over recent decades, supported by lottery funding and improved sports science. Let's discuss how technology has changed British life, because the digital revolution has been particularly embraced here. Britain has excellent mobile phone coverage and widespread broadband internet, making digital services integral to daily life. Online banking is almost universal. Most Brits rarely visit physical bank branches, instead managing their finances through mobile apps and websites. Contactless payments have been widely adopted, and it's increasingly common to see shops that prefer card payments over cash. The gig economy has flourished in British cities. Food delivery services like Deliveroo and Uber Eats have changed how young people eat, whilst ride-sharing services complement traditional taxis and public transport. Social media usage among British people is high, but there's growing awareness of its impact on mental health and social interaction. Many families try to implement digital detox periods or screen-free mealtimes. Streaming services have largely replaced traditional television viewing patterns, especially among younger people. The BBC iPlayer, along with Netflix, Amazon Prime, and other services, mean people watch programs when they want, rather than following traditional schedules. Online shopping during the pandemic accelerated trends that were already developing, with even traditionally resistant demographics like elderly people becoming comfortable with digital services. As we approach the end of our exploration of modern British life, let's consider how recent events have shaped contemporary Britain. Brexit, the pandemic, and economic challenges have all influenced how we live, work, and think about our place in the world. Brexit continues to influence British politics and society, though daily life impacts have been less dramatic than many predicted. European travel requires more planning, some product availability has changed, and there are ongoing political debates, but most people's day-to-day experiences haven't fundamentally altered. The pandemic had profound impacts on British life, accelerating changes that were already underway. Working from home became normal for many office workers, online shopping expanded dramatically, and there's increased awareness of mental health and work-life balance. Economic pressures from inflation and rising energy costs are currently significant concerns for many British households. This is influencing spending patterns, heating decisions, and lifestyle choices in ways that cut across all social classes. Despite these challenges, British resilience and adaptability remain strong characteristics. There's a pragmatic approach to dealing with difficulties, complaining good-naturedly whilst getting on with necessary adaptations. The British sense of humour continues to help navigate difficult times. Self-deprecating jokes about our current challenges are common, and there's comfort in shared experiences of dealing with problems. Looking toward the future, Britain continues to evolve whilst maintaining its distinctive character. Immigration from many countries has enriched British culture enormously, creating vibrant, multicultural communities whilst sometimes creating tensions that require ongoing navigation. Young British people tend to be internationally minded, environmentally conscious, and digitally native in ways that distinguish them from previous generations. They're more likely to live in cities, rent rather than own property, and prioritize experiences over material possessions. Traditional British institutions like the monarchy, Parliament, and the BBC retain significant support, but face questions about their relevance and effectiveness in modern society. These debates reflect broader conversations about national identity and values. The creative industries remain a British strength: music, film, television, literature, and digital media, where British talent competes successfully globally whilst maintaining distinctively British characteristics. Regional differences may become more pronounced as different parts of the country pursue different economic and social strategies. Scotland's distinct political direction, Northern Ireland's unique position, and Wales's cultural revival all contribute to an increasingly complex national picture. Well, that brings us to the end of our extensive tour through modern British life. We've covered an enormous amount of ground today, from our relationship with weather and social customs to education, work, food, transport, housing, and the changes shaping contemporary Britain. I hope this has given you a genuine insight into what life is actually like here, beyond the stereotypes and tourist attractions. Britain is a country of contradictions. We're polite but can be quite direct. We love tradition but embrace change. We complain about the weather but wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And we're proud of our country whilst being happy to criticize it. Understanding British culture requires patience and observation. We often communicate as much through what we don't say as what we do say, and there are countless unwritten rules that govern social interaction. But don't let this intimidate you. British people are generally very forgiving of cultural mistakes and appreciate when visitors make an effort to understand our ways. If you're planning to visit or live in Britain, remember that regional differences are significant, and the experience of living in London is very different from living in Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast, or a small English market town. Each area has its own character and charm. Most importantly, remember that modern Britain is diverse, dynamic, and constantly evolving. What I've described today is a snapshot of life now, but British society continues to change and adapt whilst maintaining its core characteristics of politeness, pragmatism, and a slightly ironic sense of humour. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through British life. I hope you've enjoyed learning about our quirks and customs, and that this knowledge will help you better understand British culture, whether you encounter it through media, travel, or study. This is Emily from Artificial Fluency, reminding you that understanding a culture is just as important as learning its language. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and remember, when in doubt, put the kettle on and have a nice cup of tea. Right then. Picture this. It's 5:30 on a dreary Tuesday evening in Manchester. You're queuing for the bus in the drizzle, and someone behind you mutters, "Typical British weather, innit?" This moment captures something quintessentially British: our obsession with weather, our politeness, and our ability to find humor in the mundane. Today, we're exploring what it really means to live in modern Britain. Hello there, and welcome to Artificial Fluency Podcast. I'm Emily, and I'm absolutely delighted you've joined me today. This episode is specially crafted for intermediate English learners at B1 and B2 levels who are keen to understand authentic British life and master proper British English. Now, when we talk about British English, we're not just discussing pronunciation and vocabulary, though we'll certainly cover those. We're diving into the heart of contemporary British culture, from the morning commute on the London Underground to weekend trips to the local pub, from discussing the latest series on the BBC to navigating the peculiarities of British social etiquette. Today's journey through modern Britain includes 4 fascinating stops. First, we'll explore daily life in Britain, from morning routines with a proper cuppa to the sacred institution of Sunday roast. Then, we'll delve into British social customs and the unwritten rules that govern how we interact. Next, we'll examine British humour, the weather obsession, and what makes British conversation truly distinctive. Finally, we'll discuss regional differences across the UK and how British English varies from Scotland to Cornwall. By the end of our hour together, you'll have mastered over 70 distinctly British expressions, understood the nuances of British pronunciation, and gained insight into the cultural context that makes British English so wonderfully unique. So, shall we get cracking? Let's embark on this thoroughly British adventure. Let's begin with the rhythms of everyday British life, starting with that most sacred of British rituals, making tea. But this isn't just about brewing up, it's about understanding how deeply embedded certain practices are in British culture. The Great British Morning. Tea and coffee culture. Cuppa, informal term for a cup of tea. Brew, both the tea and the process of making it. Builder's tea, strong tea with milk and sugar. Proper tea, tea made with loose leaves, not tea bags. Tea round, when someone makes tea for the whole office. Milk first or tea first, an ongoing British debate. Now, here's something that might surprise international learners. The Great Tea Debate isn't just about preference, it's about regional identity, class, and tradition. In my family, for instance, my nan would be absolutely horrified if you put the milk in first. Tea first, then milk, she'd say. How else can you judge the color properly? British breakfast traditions. Full English breakfast, eggs, bacon, sausages, beans, toast, black pudding, porridge, oats cooked with milk or water. Marmite on toast, the spread that divides Britain. Crumpets, griddle bread with holes, perfect for butter. Weetabix, popular breakfast cereal. Bacon buddy, bacon sandwich, usually with brown sauce. Grammar focus, present perfect for British experiences. British English often uses present perfect where American English might use past simple. British, I've just had my breakfast. American, I just had my breakfast. British, have you been to the shops yet? American, did you go to the shops yet? British, I've lost my keys. American, I lost my keys. The British commute. Transport vocabulary. The Tube, London Underground system. Bus stop, where you wait for the bus. Queue, orderly line of waiting people. Oyster card, London transport payment card. Rush hour, busy commuting times. Mind the gap, famous London Underground announcement. Return ticket, round-trip ticket. Single ticket, one-way ticket. Queuing is perhaps the most British thing imaginable. We queue for everything. Buses, shops, cash machines, even when there's no clear system. It's an art form, really. There's an unspoken etiquette, no pushing, no jumping the queue, and definitely no tudding. Queuing is perhaps the most British thing imaginable. We queue for everything. Buses, shops, cash machines, even when there's no clear system. It's an art form, really. There's an unspoken etiquette, no pushing, no jumping the queue, and definitely no tudding unless someone's being particularly inconsiderate. Workplace culture, office life. Colleague, workmate, fellow employee. Meeting, formal discussion, often with biscuits. Annual leave, paid vacation time. Bank holiday, public holiday. Flexi time, flexible working hours. Hot desking, sharing desks rather than having assigned seats. Water cooler chat, informal office conversation. Grammar point, British modal verbs. British English has particular patterns with modal verbs. Shall for suggestions. Shall we have a cup of tea? Very British. Shall I put the kettle on? Would for polite requests. Would you mind closing the window? I wouldn't say no to another biscuit. Should for mild obligation. You should try the fish and chips. We should probably leave soon. British shopping culture. High street shopping. High street, main shopping street in British towns. Charity shop, store selling donated goods for charity. Corner shop, small local convenience store. Supermarket, large self-service store. Queue, what you do at checkout. Trolley, shopping cart. Carrier bag, plastic or reusable shopping bag. Receipt, proof of purchase. The British High Street has changed dramatically in recent years. Many traditional shops have closed, replaced by coffee chains and charity shops. It's quite sad, actually. When I was growing up, every town had a proper butcher, baker, and greengrocer. Now you're more likely to find a Costa Coffee and 3 charity shops. Food shopping expressions. I'm just popping to the shops. Going for a quick shop. Do the weekly shop. Buy groceries for the week. Pick up a few bits. Buy some small items. It's on offer. It's on sale/discount. BOGOF. Buy one, get one free. Use by date. Expiration date. Evening and weekend life. The British pub. Local, your neighborhood pub. Pint, measure of beer, 568 ml. Round, when one person buys drinks for everyone. Landlord, landlady, pub owner or manager. Last orders, final chance to buy drinks. Pub quiz, weekly trivia competition. Beer garden, outdoor seating area. Traditional British foods. Sunday roast, traditional family meal on Sundays. Bangers and mash, sausages with mashed potatoes. Shepherd's pie, minced lamb with potato topping. Cottage pie, minced beef with potato topping. Toad in the hole, sausages in Yorkshire pudding batter. Bubble and squeak, fried leftover vegetables. Spotted dick, traditional steamed pudding with currants. Sunday roast is practically sacred in Britain. It's not just a meal, it's a weekly ritual that brings families together. The smell of roasting beef or lamb, the sound of Yorkshire puddings rising in the oven, the inevitable argument about whether the vegetables are overcooked, it's all part of the experience. British television culture. TV programs. Soap opera. Ongoing drama series like EastEnders. Panel show. Comedy quiz show format. Documentary. Factual program. Series, what Americans call seasons. Presenter. TV host. Channel, TV station. BBC iPlayer, online streaming service. Catch-up TV, watching programs after broadcast. Distinctly British expressions. What's on the telly? What's on television? I'm watching the box. It's a rerun. The news at 10. Evening news program. Tune in. Watch a particular program. Remote control, device for changing channels. Weather and climate. British weather vocabulary. Drizzle, light rain. Downpour, heavy rain. Overcast, cloudy sky. Bright spells, periods of sunshine. Changeable, weather that varies frequently. Mild, moderate temperature. Nippy, quite cold. Brawly, informal term for umbrella. We Brits are absolutely obsessed with weather, and for good reason. It changes constantly. You can experience all 4 seasons in a single day. That's why we always carry an umbrella, and why weather is always a safe conversation starter. Common weather expressions. Lovely day, isn't it? Commenting on nice weather. Typical British weather. When it's raining. It's chucking it down. It's raining heavily. Bit nippy today. It's quite cold. Glorious sunshine. Beautiful sunny weather. 4 seasons in one day. Changeable weather. Understanding daily British life gives you the foundation for authentic communication. In our next segment, we'll explore the unwritten social rules that govern British interactions. Now then, let's delve into the fascinating world of British social etiquette, those unwritten rules that govern how we interact with one another. Mastering these customs is just as important as vocabulary when it comes to understanding British culture. The art of British politeness. Polite expressions. Sorry, used for everything, not just apologies. Excuse me, to get attention or pass by. Pardon, asking someone to repeat something. I beg your pardon, more formally to ask for repetition. After you, letting someone go first. Cheers, thank you, informal. Ta, thanks, very informal. Much obliged, formal thank you. Here's something that completely baffles visitors to Britain. We apologize for everything. If someone bumps into us, we say sorry. If we can't hear what someone said, we say sorry. If it's raining, we practically apologize for the weather. It's not that we're constantly at fault, it's just how we maintain social harmony. The sorry phenomenon. Sorry, could you repeat that? Asking for clarification. Sorry to bother you, but... Polite interruption. Sorry, I'm just going to squeeze past. Moving through a crowd. Sorry about the weather. Acknowledging bad weather. Sorry, I'm late. Arriving after expected time. Grammar focus. Indirect communication. British English tends to be more indirect than other varieties. Direct. Open the window. British English. I wonder if you might open the window. Direct. You're wrong. British indirect. I'm not entirely sure that's quite right. Direct. I don't like it. British indirect. It's not really my cup of tea. Queuing culture. Queue etiquette. Form an orderly queue. Line up properly. Wait your turn. Don't push ahead. Mind the queue. Be aware of queue position. Queue jumping, the ultimate British sin. Next in line. Whose turn it is. Hold your place. Maintain your position. Queuing is serious business in Britain. There's an unspoken code. You must acknowledge the queue exists, join at the back, and wait patiently. Queue jumping is met with disapproving looks and perhaps a stern, "Excuse me, there is a queue, you know." The passive aggression is quite something to behold. Small talk and conversation. Safe conversation topics. Weather, always acceptable. Transport delays, shared frustration. Television programs, common ground. Holiday plans, generally positive. Local events, community connection. Pets, usually safe territory. Topics to avoid. Personal income, considered very private. Politics, unless you know someone well. Religion, personal matter. House prices, can be sensitive. Weight or appearance, potentially offensive. Conversation starters. Lovely weather we're having. Classic British opener. Terrible about the trains today. Transport complaints. Did you see TV program last night? Media discussion. Going anywhere nice for your holidays? Travel chat. How's your weekend been? Monday Morning Standard. British understatement. Typical understatements. Not too bad. Actually quite good. A bit disappointing. Really terrible. Rather good. Excellent. Quite nice. Very nice indeed. I'm not being funny, but I'm about to criticize. With the greatest respect, I completely disagree. British understatement is an art form. We rarely express enthusiasm directly. If a British person says something is quite good, they probably think it's brilliant. If we say it wasn't too bad, we likely had a wonderful time. It's all about reading between the lines. Pub etiquette. Pub culture rules. Buy your round. Take turns buying drinks for the group. Know your order. Don't hold up the bar. Wait to be served. Don't push to the front. Keep your voice down. Respect other customers. No mobile phones. Many pubs discourage phone use. Respect the regulars. Acknowledge the local community. Pub vocabulary. What's your poison? What would you like to drink? I'll get these in. I'll buy this round. Same again. Another of the same drink. Time at the bar. Last orders. Closing time. Pub is shutting. Lock-in. After hours drinking. Technically illegal. Grammar point. British question tags. British English uses question tags frequently for politeness. Lovely day, isn't it? You're coming to the party, aren't you? That was a good film, wasn't it? We should leave soon, shouldn't we? These soften statements and invite agreement. Question orders. Lovely day, isn't it? Question mark. You're coming to the party, aren't you? Question mark. That was a good film, wasn't it? Question mark. We should leave soon, shouldn't we? Question mark. Dining etiquette. Table manners. Cutlery placement. Knife in right hand, fork in left. Passing dishes, always to the right. Bread and butter. Break, don't cut. Soup. Spoon away from yourself. Tea stirring. No clinking against the cup. Napkin placement. On your lap, not tucked in. Dining expressions. Tuck in. Start eating. Help yourself. Serve yourself. Pass the salt, please. Polite request. This is delicious. Complimenting the food. I'm stuffed. I'm very full. Informal. That was lovely. Polite appreciation. British class system and language. Regional and class markers. Pronunciation differences. Received pronunciation versus regional accents. Vocabulary choices. Sofa versus settee. Toilet versus loo. Grammar patterns. I haven't got versus I don't have. Social markers. Subtle indicators of background. The British class system still influences language use, though it's much more subtle than it used to be. Certain pronunciations, vocabulary choices, and expressions can indicate regional origin, education, or social background. It's not about being better or worse, just different. Meeting and greeting. Formal introductions. How do you do? Formal greeting. Reply, how do you do? Pleased to meet you. Standard polite response. May I introduce? Formal introduction of others. I don't believe we've met. Informal greeting. All right. Casual greeting. Not really asking about well-being. How's it going? Informal check-in. You all right, mate? Friendly casual greeting. What's the crack? Northern English. What's happening? Leaving and farewells. Polite departures. I'd better be off. Time to leave. I should probably head home. Gentle departure. Right, I'll love you and leave you. Informal goodbye. Take care. Caring farewell. See you later. Casual goodbye. Cheerio. Traditional farewell. One peculiarly British phenomenon is the long goodbye. We'll stand by the door for 10 minutes, saying we need to leave, then have another conversation, then finally actually depart. It's like we can't bear to be impolite by leaving abruptly. Gift giving and hospitality. Guest etiquette. Bring something, flowers, wine or chocolates. Remove shoes, if asked, or follow host's lead. Offer to help, with cooking or washing up. Send thanks, text or call to thank host. Return the favor, reciprocal invitation. British hospitality. Put the kettle on, making tea for guests. You'll have a cup of tea, standard offer. I'll just put some biscuits out, accompanying the tea. Make yourself at home, encouraging comfort. Stay for dinner, extending hospitality. Understanding these social customs helps you navigate British society with confidence. Next, we'll explore what makes British humor and conversation so distinctive. Right, let's tackle one of the most mysterious aspects of British culture, our sense of humor. British comedy is renowned worldwide, but understanding it requires grasping subtlety, irony, and our peculiar relationship with self-deprecation. The nature of British humor. Types of British comedy. Self-deprecating, making fun of yourself. Dry humor, delivered with straight face. Sarcasm, saying opposite of what you mean. Irony, contrast between expectation and reality. Wit, clever, quick humor. Banter, playful, teasing conversation. Deadpan, humor without emotion. Absurdist, surreal, nonsensical comedy. British humor often confuses international visitors because we frequently say the exact opposite of what we mean. If someone spills coffee all over themselves, a British person might say, "Well, that went well, didn't it?" with a perfectly straight face. The humor lies in the understatement and irony. Self-deprecating humor. Common self-deprecating phrases. I'm hopeless at, admitting incompetence humorously. Trust me to, acknowledging your typical mistakes. I'm such an idiot, calling yourself stupid, affectionately. Typical me, accepting your character flaws. I couldn't organize a piss-up in a brewery. Admitting poor organization skills. I'm about as useful as a chocolate teapot, completely useless. Grammar focus, using would for humorous complaints. British English often uses would for humorous frustration. It would be raining, wouldn't it? Typical bad luck. The bus would be late today, when you're in a hurry. He would say that. Predictable response. That would happen to me, acknowledging your luck. Sarcasm and irony. Sarcastic responses. Brilliant, when something goes wrong. Perfect, when situation is far from perfect. Just what I needed when facing another problem. How lovely, when something is unpleasant. Fantastic, expressing mock enthusiasm. Wonderful, sarcastic appreciation. The key to British sarcasm is tone and context. Brilliant can mean genuinely excellent or completely awful, depending on how it's said. If someone gets soaked in the rain and says brilliant while wringing out their jacket, they definitely don't mean it literally. Banter and teasing. Friendly banter. Taking the mickey, gentle teasing. Winding someone up, deliberately annoying for fun. Taking the piss, mocking. Slightly ruder, having a laugh, joking around, pulling your leg, telling a white lie for amusement, having you on, pretending something false. Banter examples. You're having a laugh. You must be joking. Are you taking the mickey? Are you teasing me? Don't wind me up. Stop annoying me. I was only pulling your leg. I was just joking. You're having me on. You're not serious. British comedy television. Classic British comedies. Monty Python, absurdist sketch comedy. Fawlty Towers, hotel-based sitcom. The Office, workplace mockumentary. Only Fools and Horses, working-class family comedy. Father Ted, Irish priest's comedy. Blackadder, historical satirical comedy. Peep Show, dark observational comedy. Comedy vocabulary, sketch show, series of short comedy scenes. Sitcom, situation comedy. Stand-up, solo comedian performing. Panel show, comedians discussing topics. Mockumentary, fake documentary style. Farce, absurd exaggerated comedy. Grammar point, perfect aspect for comedy timing. British comedy often uses perfect aspects for timing. Present perfect, for recent actions. Well, that's gone well, hasn't it? After something fails. You've done it now, after someone makes mistake. Past perfect for sequence. I just sat down when the phone rang. Interrupted action. He'd barely finished speaking when. Immediate sequence. Regional humor differences. Northern English humor. Direct and frank. Straight-talking style. Self-effacing. Not taking yourself seriously. Community-based. Shared experiences. Dry observations. Commenting on life's absurdities. Southern English humor, more subtle, indirect approach. Wordplay heavy, puns and language games. Class conscious, awareness of social differences. Sophisticated irony, layered meanings. Scottish humor, self-deprecating, making fun of themselves. Dark edge, finding humor in difficult situations. Storytelling tradition, narrative-based comedy. Quick wit, fast responses. Welsh humor, musical quality, rhythm and delivery. Community-focused, shared identity. Underdog perspective, finding humor in struggle. Lyrical expression, poetic elements. Regional differences in humor reflect broader cultural variations across the UK. Northern humor tends to be more direct, calling a spade, as we say. Southern humor might be more subtle, while Scottish comedy often has a wonderfully dark edge to it. Conversational patterns. British conversation features. Understated responses, not showing too much enthusiasm. Deflecting compliments, not accepting praise directly. Changing subject, avoiding uncomfortable topics. Circular conversations, coming back to earlier points. Polite disagreement, softening opposing views. Conversation fillers, well, I never, expression of surprise. Blimey, mild exclamation. Good grief, stronger surprise. Stone the crows, amazement. Flippin' heck, mild outh. Crikey, surprise or shock. The art of complaining, British complaining style. Indirect approach, not confrontational. Understated problems, a slight issue for major problem. Apologetic complaints, sorry to bother you but. Passive-aggressive tone, implying rather than stating. Humorous angle, finding comedy in frustration. Complaint phrases, I'm not being funny but. Introducing criticism. I don't wish to complain, however. Polite complaint starter. It's a bit of a nuisance. Major inconvenience. Not to put too fine a point on it. Being direct. I'm afraid there seems to be. Identifying problem. Weather as social lubricant. Weather conversation functions. Icebreaker. Starting conversations. Safe topic. Universally acceptable. Shared experience. Everyone experiences weather. Time filler. When conversation lags. Polite acknowledgement, recognizing others. Weather commentary, changeable, isn't it? Acknowledging weather variation. At least it's not raining, finding positive angle. Looks like we're in for it, bad weather approaching. Makes a change, different from usual. Seasonal weather, appropriate for time of year. Weather conversation serves a crucial social function in Britain. It's not really about meteorology, it's about establishing human connection. When strangers comment on the weather, they're acknowledging each other's presence and creating a moment of shared experience. Emotional expression. Not too bad for excellent. Bit of a setback for disaster. It was nothing. Avoiding drama. Keeping calm demeanor. Measured responses, not overreacting. I'm not over the moon. Quite disappointed. Could be worse. Acknowledging problems while staying positive. Mustn't grumble, except in situation despite problems. Can't complain, things are reasonably well. Not the end of the world. Putting problems in perspective. Understanding British humour and conversation patterns helps you connect authentically with British speakers. In our final segment, we'll explore the rich regional diversity across the UK. Now then, let's explore the rich tapestry of regional differences across the United Kingdom. Britain might be a relatively small island, but the linguistic and cultural variations from Scotland to Cornwall are absolutely fascinating. Understanding UK geography. The four nations. England, largest nation, includes multiple regions. Scotland, distinct culture, own legal system. Wales, bilingual nation with strong Celtic heritage. Northern Ireland, part of UK, complex identity. Major English regions. The North, Yorkshire, Lancashire, Northumberland. The Midlands, Birmingham, Nottingham, Leicester. The South West, Cornwall, Devon, Somerset. The South East, Kent, Surrey, Sussex. East Anglia, Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire. London, unique cosmopolitan identity. Each region has its own character, accent, vocabulary, and cultural traditions. Someone from Newcastle sounds completely different from someone from Bristol, and they might use entirely different words for the same thing. Northern England, Yorkshire characteristics. Eye up, hello, now then, greeting. Right good, really good. Thee and tha, you, informal. Going down Ginnell. Going down the alley. Pot wood in Thal. Close the door. Lancashire features. Barm cake. Bread roll. Mither. Bother or worry. Ginnell or snicket. Narrow passage. Choddy. Chewing gum. Scoff. Food. Geordie. Newcastle expressions. Hoey. Come on. Canny. Good or quite. Hinny. Term of endearment. Gadgy. Man or bloke. Mortal. Very drunk. Raj, crazy. Scottish English. Common Scottish terms. Wee, small. Ken, no. Bonny, beautiful. Drech, dull, wet weather. Fash, worry, don't fash yourself. Bra, good, fine. Messages, shopping. Out with, outside of. Scottish grammar patterns. I'm away to the shops. I'm going to the shops. That's me done. I'm finished. Are you wanting tea? Would you like tea? I'm not knowing. I don't know. Scottish English has wonderful expressions that don't exist elsewhere. Drech perfectly captures that grey, drizzly weather that's neither quite raining nor dry. There's no exact English equivalent. It's uniquely Scottish. Welsh English. Welsh characteristics. Musical intonation, rising and falling patterns. Tidy, good, nice. Lush, lovely, great. Quatch, coddle, hug. Now in a minute, soon, but not immediately. Where to? Where's coat is that jacket? Typical Welsh question structure. Southern England, West Country, Somerset, Devon, Cornwall. Proper job. Well done, good work. Directly, but means eventually. Got, great. Scrumpy, strong cider. Emmets, tourists, Cornish term. London and South East. Cockney rhyming slang, traditional East London. Multicultural influences, diverse modern London. In it, isn't it, universal agreement tag. Safe, cool, good. Peak, unfortunate, disappointing. Grammar focus, regional question formation. Different regions form questions differently. Standard, are you coming? Northern, you coming? Scottish, are you fortling? Welsh, come in you are. Modern British identity. Contemporary British culture, multiculturalism, diverse communities, globalization, international influences, digital culture, online communities, environmental awareness, sustainability focus, social mobility, changing class structures, European influences, despite Brexit. Modern British vocabulary, Brexit, British exit from EU, social distancing, pandemic era term, WFH, working from home, staycation, holiday in home country, carbon footprint, environmental impact, contactless, payment without touching, bubble, household route during restrictions. Modern Britain is wonderfully diverse. Walk through any British city and you'll hear dozens of languages, see influences from around the world, and experience cultures that have blended to create something uniquely contemporary British. Generational differences, older generation expressions, wireless, radio, pictures, cinema, dinner, lunch in some regions, tea, evening meal in some areas, courting, dating, fancy, like romantically, younger generation slang, bare, very, lots of, peng, attractive, sick, cool, awesome, waste man, useless person, ends, area, neighborhood, bants, banter, fun conversation. Class and language today, changing attitudes, less rigid hierarchy, more social mobility, regional pride, celebrating local identity, educational influence, university attendance, media democratization, diverse voices, professional flexibility, accent acceptance. Pronunciation variations, received pronunciation, RP, traditional posh accent, BBC English, still prestigious but less dominant, associated with education and authority, estuary English, mix of RP and Cockney, common in Southeast, middle-class compromise, used by many celebrities. Regional accents, increasingly accepted professionally, source of local pride, distinctive identities, media representation growing. The beauty of modern British English is its diversity. There's no single, correct way to speak British English anymore. A Yorkshire accent is just as valid as received pronunciation, and regional expressions add colour and character to the language. Food culture across regions, regional specialties, Yorkshire, Yorkshire pudding, parkin, Cornwall, pasties, cream tea, Scotland, haggis, shortbread, Wales, Welsh cakes, laverbread, London, pie and mash, jellied eels, Lancashire, hot pot, black pudding. British food evolution, traditional British, fish and chips, roast dinner, international influences, curry, Chinese, Italian, modern fusion, combining traditions, health consciousness, organic, vegetarian options, artisanal movement, craft producers. Conversation practice. Let's practice a typical regional encounter. Southern visitor in northern pub. Visitor, excuse me, could I have a pint of bitter, please? Barman, reet love, you're not from round here, are ya? Visitor, no, I'm down from London for work. Barman, London, eh? Bit different up here, I bet. How you finding it? Visitor, everyone's been very friendly, actually. Quite a change from the south. Aye, we're not so bad up north. That'll be £3.50 duck. This conversation shows typical northern friendliness, the use of terms of endearment like love and duck, and the gentle curiosity about visitors that you'll find across Britain. Modern challenges and opportunities, Brexit impact, changing European relationships, new trade patterns, identity questions, language policy effects, digital revolution, online communities, social media dialects, global communication, educational access. Climate change response, environmental vocabulary, sustainable practices, green technology, conservation awareness. Understanding regional variations enriches your appreciation of British English and helps you connect with speakers from across the UK. Right then, what a thoroughly British journey we've had together today. Let's reflect on everything we've discovered about modern British life and language. Today's British discoveries. Daily life mastery. We've explored the sacred ritual of tea making, the art of queuing, British breakfast traditions, and the peculiarities of British shopping culture. You now understand why weather is our national obsession and how Sunday roast brings families together. Social customs expertise. We've decoded British politeness, the mysterious phenomenon of constant apologizing, pub etiquette, and the unwritten rules that govern British social interaction. You've learned to read between the lines of British understatement, humor and communication. We've delved into self-deprecating humor, sarcasm, banter, and the subtle art of British conversation. You now understand why we say the opposite of what we mean and how regional differences influence communication styles. Regional awareness. We've travelled from Scotland to Cornwall, exploring the rich diversity of accents, vocabulary, and cultural traditions that make Britain such a fascinating tapestry of regional identities. Essential British phrases you can use immediately. Shall we put the kettle on? Sorry, I'm just going to squeeze past. Lovely day, isn't it? I'm not being funny, but that went well, didn't it? Here's something wonderful about British English. It's not just about grammar and vocabulary, it's about understanding a culture that values politeness, finds humour in adversity, and maintains traditions while embracing change. When you master these elements, you're not just speaking English, you're participating in a rich cultural conversation. This week's British Challenge. Practice British politeness. Use sorry and excuse me more frequently. Try British understatement. Describe good things as not too bad. Comment on weather. Use it as a conversation starter. Watch British comedy. Notice the irony and self-deprecation. Learn regional expressions. Explore accents from different areas. Looking ahead. Next week, we'll explore global English communication, how English adapts across different countries and cultures worldwide, building on your British foundation. British cultural immersion. Continue developing your British English through BBC programmes and radio, British newspapers and magazines, UK-based podcasts and YouTube channels, British literature and contemporary writing, virtual visits to British museums and cultural sites, community connection. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Email me at emily@artificialfluency.com and tell me which British expressions you find most amusing, your experiences with British culture, questions about regional differences, British comedy or programs you enjoy. Your stories help shape our understanding of how British culture resonates globally. Final British wisdom. Remember, speaking British English isn't about achieving a perfect accent, it's about understanding the cultural context that shapes how we communicate. Whether you're in Yorkshire or Cornwall, London or Edinburgh, the key is appreciating the rich diversity and finding your own authentic voice within this wonderful linguistic tradition. Quote to remember: Britain is a collection of villages that became a nation, each keeping its own character while sharing a common language. In learning British English, you're joining a conversation that spans centuries and continues to evolve every day. Thank you for spending this hour exploring modern British life with me. Keep practicing, stay curious, and remember, when in doubt, put the kettle on and start with the weather. Until next time, this is Emily from Artificial Fluency Podcast. Cheerio, and keep calm and carry on learning.